Jenny from the SLC here, and I wanted to kind of jump on and do about a 20-minute video showing you how to get Illustrator, kind of open it, set up your document, and navigate the interface. So the first thing you want to do is go on to adobe.com and try to sign in with your REMCAD email address. Now you should have an email from Adobe that says that you have access, but if you do not, you can email the Spectrum bookstore. I will link it down below, but it's spectrum@remcad.edu, and just let them know that you're not able to access your Adobe subscription, and they will get you set up. So you want to sign in and sign in with your Google email or your REMCAD email. So I'm going to sign in, and if you can sign in, you're good to go, and if not, then go ahead and email Spectrum. And on this left side, you're going to go to apps, and these are all the apps that I have, but when you've never logged in or downloaded anything, it'll look like this does below. So find Illustrator inside of here. It looks like this, AI, and click install. I would also recommend that you download the Creative Cloud app so that you have access to all of the different applications on your desktop, and then it'll notify you when you need to update everything or do automatic updates depending. So once you download those two, I'm going to minimize this. Go ahead and open up Illustrator, and actually when you click it to open it up, it'll appear in your dock or your taskbar, depending on if you have a Mac or a PC. I would pin it to your dock or taskbar so that it is always here when you need to find it, especially if you're going to be using a lot. So right click and do options, keep in dock, or pin to taskbar, depending on what type of computer you have. So then from there, you're going to open up Illustrator. These are all my recent documents. If you've never opened Illustrator before, you won't see any recent documents. You might see this. On the right, there's a link to Adobe Tutorials Online, which is amazing. I will show you that later on in the video. And then there's also different features that pop up here. If you have an Illustrator exercise that you're going to download from the LMS, you would click open and then find the .ai file. It looks like this, .ai. You would find that file, open it up. But we're going to work on setting up a new document. So I'm going to click new file. You can also do that up top. This is your main menu bar. On a PC, it's attached. With a Mac, it's a separate window like this, so it'll look a little bit different depending on what type of computer you're on. So I'm going to do new file, and this is going to open up my new document window. And up top, you have a whole bunch of different presets. I would explore these so you can see general sizing for different sorts of templates and applications. So on this right side, you have preset details, and this is where you would input any assignment requirements for the different width and height of a document, if the orientation is portrait or landscape, how many artboards, if it's going to be in inches or pixels, if there's going to be a bleed around the edges for printing, the color mode, are you working RGB just online, or are you going to print it so you need CMYK color, raster effects. Do you want it high pixels per inch, medium, or a lower screen one? Just basically input what you think you're going to need. I'm going to do a letter for the tutorial, so I'm just going to hit create. And that's going to bring me into my document window. Up top is the main drop-down menus, and I would explore these, just kind of click through them. The file one is open, close, save as, export as. Edit is copy, paste, undo, redo, things like that. Objects, and these are not illuminated here because we haven't started creating anything inside of our artboard. And so once we start creating paths, these will illuminate and you'll be able to access these. So type, select, effects, view different views, and also view menus like rulers, smart guides, window. And then on this right side, you have switch workspace. If you click that, right now we're in Essentials Classics, but I believe the default is Essentials. Looks like this. You have a larger workspace area in the center and then a single vertical line of tools in your toolbar. And then over here, there are no menus inside of here for different properties. So I like to work, or I encourage students when they're first working in Illustrator to go into Essentials Classics. And I think this is a little bit more user-friendly because you can see more. And that way, if you're a visual learner and you're looking for something, see how many more tools you can see over here. And then you can also see all these different menus in this vertical bar here. You can see the properties menu. The other cool feature about this is when you click on one of your tools, all the different characteristics of that tool will pop up here on this horizontal menu and then inside of this property menu here. Whereas if you are in Essentials, it doesn't do that. It just pops up over here. So it's kind of more accessible. And then on the left side, inside of this toolbar, if you hover over any of the tools, it will show you the name of the tool, the shortcut, and what it does. And then if you click Learn More, it'll open a browser window and take you to Adobe Learn, and you can learn, they'll show you different tutorials there. And if there's a little upside down arrow, that means that there are other tools or attributes nested inside of that. So if you right click, it'll show you all the different options there. So if you click here, this is the edit toolbar. And there are all of your tools, and they're categorized by their function. These two right here are your fill and your stroke. This is a swap arrow, so you can kind of swap the colors back and forth. This is the default. So say you create a gradient or you change your fill. If you want to turn it back to the default, there's this little default click button here. You just click that and it goes back. Right here, this is the hand tool. If you click on this and see how it turns into a hand, you can move around the workspace. It's helpful if you have multiple artboards or you're zoomed in really closely and you're trying to navigate. This here is the zoom tool. Becomes a plus. If you pick a focus area and you click on it, it will zoom into that area. And if you hit the Option or Alt key, it turns into a minus and it will zoom out. The other thing it will do is if you are on the zoom tool and you press and hold down your mouse, you can move left and right while holding it down. It'll zoom in and out. Whoa. And then lastly, you can go to View and do zoom in or out. And here's the shortcut. Everything in Illustrator and Photoshop and most Adobe applications show you what the hotkey or the shortcut is to the right, which is amazing. And then also when you use things for the first time, if you hover over it, it'll tell you what it is. So this is your layers panel. Kind of looks like a sandwich. Got your color, and this is a color guide. More or different colors will appear here as you start adding different colors. Here's the swatches, brushes, and anything that has a vertical scroll bar. You can also hover over the bottom of the menu and these little arrows will appear and you can pull that up or down. and then also in or out. And this works especially well with the layers panel, because as you start building and adding paths and artwork, this is going to get very long. And so if you have a long naming convention for something, or you want to find something and you don't want to work within this tiny space to scroll, you can always just pull this down. So I actually like to move the layer panel all the way up. And to move these around, all you have to do is click on it. So you can just click on it once to open it, or there's these little arrows here to close it. Like I call them nesting arrows, but you can click and move this around and see the blue. That means that you can snap it to that area. And that brings up my next point. Oftentimes I see students who are working in Illustrator for the first time and they are using a trackpad, and they accidentally, pull menus off or pull their project off. And the best way to fix that is just grab the tab. So it's actually different. So for this your project file, you're going to have to physically grab it and wait until it turns blue to snap it back to where it goes. But any sort of menu that's floating like this, you can just go up to your workspace button and just do reset, and it'll reset your workspace to how it's supposed to be. But it won't do it for your project tab. But you can just always just pull that back. Just grab it by the tab and pull it back. So let's talk about the layers panel. So it moved it back down. So this eyeball will turn your layers on and off. So you can see it and then you can't. This space here, see how it's teaching us? It toggles the lock. So this will lock and unlock your layer if you just click it. This color is a characteristic of the layer, and it's in your layer options menu. And if you click on this white square, you just double click, it'll open up this menu for you. You can rename your layer or change the color of it. You can also create a template layer. So say you're using a hand drawing that you made, that you scanned and uploaded to your computer, and you want to turn it into a vector drawing. You can pull it into Illustrator, click on this template, and change the opacity of the layer so that it's more see-through, so it's not as bold, so you can draw over top of it. You can change the opacity to your liking and then hit OK. When you do that, it locks the layer, so you're unable to work within that layer, so it doesn't get moved around. So to actually build and draw over it, you're going to have to add a new layer. So you go to this plus sign, which is create new layer, and it'll create a new layer on top of it. So this space here, so we were talking about the layer options here. So this next space here, this will show you the little nesting arrow. So as you start building things onto your page, you will get this. I'll show you right now. So I'm going to go over to the toolbar and grab the ellipse. I'm going to hold down Shift to make a perfect circle. I'm just holding Shift and dragging. So see, now we have this arrow here. We can pull this down, and we can pull this out, and we can see the full name of each layer. So we have 4 ellipses, and we can nest that back. Then where it says layer 2, so you can either double click on the white and rename it there, but you can just also physically click here and name your layer. And it's best practices to name all of your layers and organize your work. It's easier to find things, and it also helps whoever is receiving the file so that they can find things. This little guy over here, I'm gonna use the selection tool to deselect those. This little guy at the end is called a target. So it's a circle, but then when you click on it, it has a circle on the outside and it becomes a target. And as you can see, when it becomes a target and there is a color that indicates that it's selected, you can see that that path is selected on the artboard. Now, this is like a parent of this group. So if I select this top target, that's going to select everything that's nesting underneath in this group. But if I just select one object, it's just going to select that one thing. And it doesn't create a target for the parent up top, for this parent, but it does have a little, almost like a smaller square instead of this larger square. The next thing we should cover are artboards. So this white page here, this is your artboard. And this is the artboard tool. So I'm going to click on this, and now this is highlighted. This is the name of my artboard. It also appears up here. And this is the size of my artboard, so 8.5 by 11, that letter page that I selected. Now you can physically drag and change the size of your artboard. You can also enter it in up here. Now, when the artboard is still selected, if you accidentally click on an object inside of that, it'll create another artboard inside of there. That happens sometimes when you still are on the tool, so just hit delete. It'll go away. If you would like to, say you have a presentation and you've created a header and a footer and you would like that to appear on every single artboard in the exact same way. So you would create that on your first artboard, and then you can hold down Alt or Option to duplicate your artboard. The other thing you can do is copy and paste, so Command C, Command V, or Control C, Control V. It'll paste another one. You can just do Control V, Control V. If you don't know the shortcuts, you can go to Edit, Copy, and then Paste, and it'll tell you what those shortcuts are right there. And then now we have duplicate artboards here. Oh, the other thing I just remembered is when we were zooming in and out, you can also go down here to the bottom and pick a percentage and zoom in or fit something on screen. Because these are selected, it's going to fit this artboard on the screen. We can zoom back out. If you'd like to input an image, there are also several different methods. I'm going to delete these artboards though. So if you want to do undo paste artboards, it's Command Z or Control Z. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command Z and just go back. And if you're on the selection tool, this top one, this is the direct selection tool. This allows you to, it's a little bit different because this selects everything, and then the direct selection tool, you can adjust different anchor points. So here, if I click and hold my mouse down and drag, it creates this invisible rectangle, and when I let go, it's going to select everything that's inside of that rectangle. So I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard. So if I want to input an image, there are several ways to do it. I can go into Place and input a linked file that's linked to the place on my computer. Here, I could also go into Open, grab the same file, hit Open, and it'll open up in a new tab. So this is my project tab right here, and then this is the image. So I can physically grab this while I'm on the selection tool. I can physically grab this and I can like pull it into my project tab and pull it down, and it's there. And then I can hold down Shift and pull in these tabs to maintain the proportions and place it where I need it to go. Okay. We can cover smart guides in a second because you can see that aligning there. So then when I come back, I can also copy and paste it. So I can do copy, go over here. You can do the shortcut as well, Command V or Control V, and paste it. So now it's in there. All right, so smart guides. So smart guides help align to the artboard other objects and text on the artboard. You can see that line that appears showing me that that's the center. And then this is the center of the artboard. So to turn them on, you go to View and then Smart Guides. And if it has a check next to it, it's turned on. The other thing you can do is go into Rulers and then Show Rulers. And you'll see it up top, up above, and then to the left of your workspace. And you can right click and choose inches, pixels, points. Then when the rulers are turned on, you can click and drag down guides to help guide. So right now I have hide guides, so that's why that's doing. So if I go to hide and then show guides, they'll appear. So if I click and pull this down, I can go back into view and then hide guides or clear them. Can also go back into view and do show grid. Like I have a grid there. Hide grid. And that actually brings me to another point. So say over here, you want to add text, but you don't see the menu. You can go over into Window, and again, anything that has a check mark is already open over here. So here's the type menu, and if I click character, this character group shows up. I can physically grab this and move it over, just like we did with the other things, and see how it nests. I can just grab all of them. And then also, so say you open it and put it here, but you forget to snap it, and then you close it and it's gone. You can just go back up, Window, scroll down, type, character, so it'll pop back up, and then you can grab it and pull it back in. All right. So say you're done and you want to export. Actually, I'm going to use this as an example here. So say you're done and you want to export or save. So you can go to File, Save As, save it on your computer, click where you want to save it, name your file, the correct naming convention, and then select Illustrator or Adobe PDF, depending on what you're instructed to do, and click Save. Now to export it as a JPEG or a PNG, you're going to go to File, Export, Export As, name it as you're instructed to name it, and then select PNG or JPEG. Now, I'm going to do this on my desktop. So if you don't click, so you're going to do Artboards, Export. Sure, okay. File, Export As, and then JPEG, and I can't remember if we did Artboards or not. I'm going to not click Artboards and see what happens. All right. So the one that I clicked Artboards, it just has everything that was on the artboard. This one is showing what was outside of the artboard. So if you have a mood board, text, reference color palettes, anything that's outside in this gray space, you want to click Use Artboard. So you're going to go to Export, Export As, and then click this. And then that will only save what is inside of your artboards, not anything that remains out of here. So that's an important bit there. So you're going to hit export. Let's replace that. And then if you're only using it online, you can just leave it for RGB. If you're going to print it, you want to do CMYK. And then quality, you can decide what you want. Baseline standard resolution, this will also, so 300 ppi, pixels per inch, is usually for printing. So generally, if you're just going to submit something at RemCAD online, you're going to do 72 or 150, and then you're going to hit OK, and then it'll export it. Then the last thing I want to show you, we talked about this at the beginning of the video, is video tutorials. So if you go to creativecloud.adobe.com/learn, you can choose which program you're going to be working in and actually go into the tutorial type, your skill level, and I think all of these are under 4 minutes, and there are a lot of really interesting ones. So I recommend going on here and exploring. That's all I have for you right now, but if you'd like to do this in a one-on-one session, you can schedule with the Student Learning Center online at mywc, or you can email learning@remcad.edu and we'll get you set up.